When Cinema 4D 2024.4 came out, I was pretty excited to see that they have updated their particle system. When I very first started using Cinema 4D 9.1, I think was the first version I started using many years ago, had thinking particles. That system has not developed over the years, so it's nice to have a modern particle system. Now, I use Octane as my preferred render engine, so I instantly started thinking about how can I incorporate this with Octane. Now, I'm sure there will be official support in the future in Octane for the new particle system. Well, let's take a look at two different ways you can render your particles in Octane and also transfer your colors over as well. So here in my scene, pretty basic. I have a basic emitter. It's just a sphere. And we're just emitting 100 particles per frame. I have a particle group. I made the size fairly large just so that you can see it. And then in that particle group, we have a turbulence effector affecting the particles. And then I have a color mapper. And so that over 30 frames, they change colors. And I believe the lifetime of the frames or of the particles is 30 frames as well. So how can we actually render these guys? So there's a couple of different ways that we're going to look at. And so if we look right now, obviously nothing is rendering. So what we're going to do is we are going to add a cloner. And on the cloner, we're going to make sure it's on multi-instance just to keep it fast. If you want to do something like dynamics, you can't use multi-instance, but for this particular scene, I'm not using any dynamics, so we'll put that on multi-instance. We'll go to object mode, and we're going to go ahead and drag in our particle group. And so we also need to add some geometry to our cloner. So let's come up here and just add a platonic. And let's bring this down. I'll just say 1. And so now if we come over here and hit render, we can see that we have our particles showing up and renders fairly fast. So how about color? Let's get this color information transferred over to Octane. So down here, I'm going to create an Octane glossy material. And let me actually close this window. Let me open up the node view. And I'm just going to type in color here. And we're going to bring out an instance color. And let's bring this into our diffuse channel. And for the instance color, we're going to bring in our cloner. And now let's refresh. Maybe let's go ahead and rewind and hit play. And the important part is we want to actually apply our material to our object. And there we go. So now we're getting that color information passed along to Octane. So that works out pretty well. And it's fairly fast. Obviously, if we crank up the number of particles, then things are going to slow down using the cloner. So the nice thing about this setup is with the MoGraph cloner is you can use the motion blur in Octane, and that's pretty nice. Now, I've been using After Effects in conjunction with Cinema 4D for a long time, so I don't mind applying motion blur in After Effects. And so if that's the case, and if you want to have a lot of particles and not have to use actual geometry in your viewport here, then we can go ahead and use the Octane scatter. So let's take a look at what that would look like. So in order to use Octane scatter, we can't drop the particle group into Octane scatter. We need to use a matrix object. So I'm going to go ahead and add a MoGraph matrix object. And let's go ahead and put this on object. And we're going to go and place the particle group in there. And we can see that we have these placeholders created by the matrix object here. And let's go ahead and bring the draw size down. I'll just say 3. Okay, so now if we add an Octane scatter, we can go ahead for the surface. We can bring in the matrix object. And if we hit refresh here, we have the particles, and obviously we just need to add our geometry. And so right now, actually, if we zoom in here, we can see that we have these spheres being rendered by Octane Scatter. So right now we don't actually have to add any geometry here, but we could, and we still keep it really fast because that geometry is actually not rendered over here in the viewport, only when we render in the Octane viewer, which makes it pretty nice. So let's go ahead and take a look at, let's just modify this one. Let's look at our instance color, and let's go ahead and just bring the matrix, the MoGraph matrix object in here. And let's go ahead and drop this. Now, I don't think this will work on Octane Scatter here. So we're going to have to actually add some geometry, which is not a problem. So let's just do that again really quick. Let's just put this on 2. Let's drop this on here. Let's refresh. And so there we go. So we have that working nicely. And since that geometry is actually, like I said, not being rendered over here, it stays really fast. And let me pause the Octane renderer, and let's go into the basic emitter here. And let's go to emission, and let's just do, let's say 5,000 per frame. I don't know, maybe this will make it choke. Let's see. It's not too bad, not too bad. So let's go ahead and do preview here. And so as you can see, render is really nice and quick. So I do like this method. Unfortunately, with Octane Scatter, motion blur is not supported. So I'd love to see that changed. Hopefully that helps, gets you up and running. Thanks for watching.